Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome especially. I'm Sally, coming to you, just me and my coffee mug, because we need to talk about something. If you have been around for a little bit, have been keeping up with the channel, you'll know that for the past couple months, my husband and I have been doing a cut, or what we're calling our pro-metabolic shred. Part of the goal with that is to show people what healthy fat loss can look like without totally wrecking your metabolism, without feeling constantly deprived. So being in that kind of headspace and sharing the information that I have been sharing recently, I have been seeing a lot of comments and even getting a lot of questions about people who, they're really trying to lose weight, but they just can't seem to lose it, and they can't find anything that works. They've tried paleo, they've tried intermittent fasting, they've tried Whole30, and for some reason, they're just not losing weight. And I will say, if you're interested in kind of like a shred update, stay to the end of the video. I'll do a little physique update, tell you all how that's been going, but for the time being, just bring this up to say that I have been seeing a lot of these comments, and then in my job working as a fitness trainer, I also hear a lot of people remarking on this phenomenon. They're really trying to they're really trying to lose weight, and they're really not seeing results happening. And I'm here today to tell you why that is. And this is so remarkably simple, and yet it has been so overcomplicated in today's society, just because it's not easy. Even though it's a simple answer, it's not a quick fix. It's not as extreme almost as like many of our brains, our dogmatic brains, want to think. But the answer is simply, if you're not losing weight, it's because you are not eating fewer calories than you're burning. Or to put that in other words, you are eating at least as many calories as you're burning. If you are gaining weight, the reason that is happening is that you are eating more calories than you're burning. And this comes down quite simply to thermodynamics. Our bodies are not exempt from the laws of thermodynamics. So it all comes down to energy in versus energy out. If you are eating more energy, consuming more energy than you're expending, then your body is going to hold on to that. It is going to store it as matter in one way or another. Whereas on the other end, if you are expending more energy than you are putting in, your body is going to have to get energy from somewhere. And so it's going to tap into your fat stores, your muscle stores, depending on how you're eating within that and how you're taking care of yourself, which is another topic altogether. But keeping it quite simple today, the focus is just on fat, like weight loss as a whole. And that's the answer. If you're not losing weight, it's because you are eating more calories than you're burning, or at least eating as many calories as you're burning. Now, I realize a lot of you might already know that that's the answer, and there's no shame if you were not aware that it was this simple coming into the video. Like I said, society has really overcomplicated it recently, but I want to dive into some reasons why this might be the case, because I know that for a lot of individuals, you think that you're eating at a deficit, and yet you're still not seeing the results you're looking for. So we'll get into that in a second. But the first reason that you might be eating more calories than you think you are is quite simply because you don't know where to start, and because you're not tracking what you're actually consuming. So I am often surprised just by the number of people who reach out or say something who actually have not calculated their total daily energy expenditure. And again, no shame, no judgment at all, but it's just working in the space that I do, it's always interesting that like this information isn't more readily available. I'm gonna link a calculator below. I always recommend it. You're gonna input your height, you're gonna input your weight. You can use and estimate a body fat percentage if you have one, but then also just your activity level. That's gonna be super important whether you're male or female. And it is going to give you a number that is an estimate of how many calories you are burning per day on average. And this is gonna depend drastically depending on who you are, depending on the person. But when you have that number, you now have a tangible place to work from, which ties into the second factor, is that a lot of people think they are eating less than they actually are because they are not tracking. Now, society has really, at the same time, kind of trended away from calorie tracking, at least recently, due to kind of increases in disordered eating. And I understand that to a large extent. Like, I know mentally it's not going to be suitable for everybody to be tracking their macronutrients or tracking their calories as a whole. But I would actually posit or like challenge that and say that disordered eating is going to be just as much of a problem, if not more, if you are just, trying to minimize your calorie intake, trying to minimize your intake of whatever macronutrient, but shooting in the dark to do so. And I'm not saying someone might be doing that intentionally. I'm saying it could be the kind of thing where, okay, I'm not going to track my calories and I'm just going to lose weight intuitively, but you actually are not in tune with your body's cues, and therefore you are eating at more of a deficit than you need to, or your system's just out of whack. Like, all that goes to say that I think that it is really necessary, if you especially are struggling with reaching your goals, or maybe you have lost some weight but you're reaching a plateau, is to determine how many calories you're burning and then just track, even if it's just for a week or two, so that you have a good idea of how many calories, how much protein, how much fat, how many carbohydrates are in your different foods. If you track for a little bit, then you can kind of use that information to inform your portion sizes moving forwards. But the reality is that 50 calories here, 25 calories there, they add up over the course of the day. And so if you're not tracking, even if you're eating really quote unquote healthy, nutrient dense foods, they still have calories in them, and it doesn't matter what you're eating, that's gonna add up. It's interesting to me, like on the carnivore diet, I hear people so many times say like, I can eat whatever I want, however many calories I want, and I still lose weight. Let's talk about that real quick. If people are eating however many calories they want and still losing weight, it's because they want fewer calories than they are expending. Like, does that make sense? Something like a crazy high protein diet, which I would never recommend, the carnivore diet, you need all 3 macronutrients. Something like that, it's so high protein and honestly so limiting that you are not gonna be hungry at all, most likely by the time you're not going to be hungry enough, we'll say, to reach your maintenance calories just based on the foods you're eating. But you're still eating at a deficit, if that makes sense. So all that goes to say, tracking is really, really valuable in just determining where you're at so that you can make adjustments and actually, reach your goals. That would be the number one recommendation. But okay, you're tracking your calories, you know how much you've been eating, or rather you're tracking your macronutrients. That's, protein, carbs, and fat. I think that's really helpful when it comes to body composition, but again, different topic. Anyway, you're tracking, you know how much you should be eating, but you're still not seeing progress. What's going on here? The answer to that, and I hate to say it, I feel like this is so frustrating, is just that you have gotten your calorie estimations incorrect. And especially if you are someone whose metabolism has suffered a lot of abuse, for lack of better words, you're experiencing, I have to readjust. Okay. You're experiencing a lot of, dysregulation, having metabolic issues. Your metabolic rate can actually be way lower than a calculator is estimating it to be. And so that's something super common, especially if someone's been dieting consistently, but not eating the proper macronutrients and not supporting their body and their stress levels, is that their TDEE is going to be way lower than is optimal. And so a deficit for them would be like significantly lower than someone else who maybe fits activity level, height, and weight, but whose metabolism is in better shape. If that is the case for you, 2 different ways we could approach this. Number one is going to be just shift your calories down. If you shift your calories down until you're finding the point where you're losing weight, okay, then we have a better picture of what's going on. But what I would say is, if your metabolism is in this position where it feels like you are eating significantly below your estimated maintenance calories and you're still not losing any weight, my biggest suggestion would be to set the weight loss goals to the side and really just focus on supporting your metabolism. And that's what most of this content on this channel is all about, is how to support your metabolism, build resilience, and that ultimately over time, if we're eating the right foods, incorporating supportive movement, getting enough rest, that's going to help increase your metabolic rate. And it's going to be a lot easier here to regulate your weight, regulate your body fat moving forwards. So we've talked about, we don't know how much we're eating more than we think we are, and your metabolic rate is just lower than you think it is, which is really frustrating, and I sympathize with you. But there is an answer. It's just you have to kind of weigh for yourself. Should I prioritize healing my metabolism or losing the weight? And to be completely honest, unless you are morbidly obese, I would argue that the answer is going to be prioritizing restoring your metabolism, because any changes in body composition that happen after that are going to be much more sustainable and much less stressful to your body in the process and after the fact. So, okay, I think that's it. I hope that this isn't like too straightforward. It comes up a lot, and I wanted to hopefully give a clear answer on what's actually going on. The last thing that I would say is when it comes to like fad diets, things, again, we talked about carnivore or like intermittent fasting, for instance. Yes, these things work for people. Hopefully, if you've been around my channel, you know that they can be really detrimental hormonally and in the long run. But I want to talk about why they're working for people in the short term. So if you're intermittent fasting, for instance, it's simply decreasing the number of hours in the day in which you're eating. There's nothing magic about it. It all still comes down to calories in versus calories out. It's just that if you are eating in only 6 hours of the day or 4 hours, however many hours you're eating in, your belly is only so big, your stomach is only so big. And so if you're putting more calories in there at one time and it's getting full, your capacity throughout those specified hours is going to be lower, if that makes sense. So these are tools that people use because it means that they're essentially less hungry, at least during the time that they're eating. Carnivore, again, you get so much protein and it's just so incredibly satiating. Until you absolutely start craving carbs and your body goes nuts, that you just aren't getting hungry, and it helps people, keep their calories lower. But those things, I would argue, really are a quick fix. They are not supportive to your hormones and to your health in the long run, and just see them for what they are. There's nothing magic about them. It just is a way in which people are eating, fewer calories throughout the day. Okay, I've talked your ear off. If you're still here, thank you. Want to do a little bit of a shred update. I will put my coffee down for a second. So we are about 2 months into this. I might have to back the camera up a little bit. There we go. Bear with me. We're about 2 months into this, and I definitely leaned out a good bit. I think I see it most in my face and then in my arms, which I don't know if it's kind of shadowy, but I feel like there's definition in my arms that there just hadn't been before. And then in my back, I should honestly, I'm wearing like a sports bra kind of thing under this, so bear with me. But in my back, I literally don't know how to show off my back muscles. You can see muscles that I've just never been able to see before, which is super exciting. The only downside, I would say, these are like my nice, expensive Madewell jeans that I invested in a while back. They are literally too big to be comfortable. I don't know, it was weird. Like they fit and then all of a sudden they didn't fit, and I fit in a jeans that I haven't fit into for like 2 years and that were always snug, and now those jeans are like a little bit loose on me. So anyways, I'm a little sad that these no longer fit because they're new and they are like expensive, but I think I'll probably trade them in and you can get like a discount on new jeans. Or if anyone wants to buy a pair of, I think they're 28s, let me know. We can work something out. But that being said, when it comes to like my hunger, my appetite, just how I've been feeling as a whole, I've been feeling great as long as I stay on top of my macronutrient timing and I'm eating the foods that I know really work for me. It just makes a huge difference if like I'm in control of my meals versus when we're traveling or like visiting family. That makes it harder to track, first of all, but then second of all, to like know how much, or rather to have on hand the foods that work the best for me. Usually what I've been doing in those instances, because we travel a lot, is I'll bring protein of some kind with me. I'll bring protein powder, beef jerky, collagen, and I can incorporate those in throughout the day to make sure I'm hitting that macro goal and have what I need to stay satiated. I'm trying to think. I had like a couple weeks back where I randomly was like so hungry. I was having like really intense sugar cravings, and that kind of keyed me into needing to be a little bit more mindful about getting my carbs in and getting them in throughout the day instead of just like hoarding them for the end of the day. I always do balance my protein, carbs, and fat, but as I shared before, I'm doing pretty high protein in the morning and then just like higher carb in the evening to help with satiety. I think maybe I went a little bit too far with that, and just bumping some more carbs up into the morning and like earlier afternoon has helped me to stay more regulated throughout the day. And also, I think there's an emotional component, because y'all know I love to bake. I love to bake like sourdough cinnamon rolls and cookies and all those things. And there's nothing to say I can't do it, but those foods are so calorically dense that I haven't been baking a ton of like sweets, obviously. And I think I was just missing doing that. And so like emotionally, there was this craving in place. But honestly, I baked this cake for a small group we went to, and I had a piece of that, and then I was like totally fine. So yeah. One other thing that we've been doing that's been really great and helpful is every Friday night, that's our date night, we have a free meal. And it's not like we go crazy. We're, eating healthy, nourishing foods for the most part, but we're not, I hope I've never made it seem like we're super strict about that kind of thing. Very much think about it as like 80-20 rule. Eat very supportive foods most of the time, but also I'm not afraid to eat a pizza or eat tacos or eat ice cream from the grocery store that's not like perfectly controlled. Like, live your freaking life. That's what I want to say. I'm all about like building resilience and supporting your body on a day-to-day basis so that you can handle just living your freaking life. Anyways, I think that those free meals have really helped with the mental component of like deprivation. It's just like, you're not going crazy at that meal, but you're not worried about tracking anything. And it gives you a little bit of freedom and wiggle room to like, I don't know, just not think about it, which I really appreciate. So yeah, again, here's how we're doing. Have about 1 month left officially. I was sick last week, and so I feel like progress slowed down just a tiny bit. Not that that super matters. Yeah, it looks like I have absolutely no butt in these jeans now because they're so big. But it's going well. I appreciate y'all's concern. And I'm down like 12 pounds and 3% body fat last I checked, but I checked like 3 weeks ago. So I think that my body fat is lower than that. But I'm gonna end the video here. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I'm also thinking of doing a Q&A video, just like generally a little bit down the road. So if you have any questions at all whatsoever that you want to talk about, want answered, let me know. Okay, bye.